Call the meeting to order. At 1 minute to. So I think we're gonna skip it ahead to the auditor's report first. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, well, my name is Dan Hamilton. I'm the audit manager that assigned to the engagements. Also, Eric Hennessy is the engagement partner. Unfortunately, he had a conflict today and wasn't able to join as well. We appreciate the opportunity to work with your organization and would like to just say thanks to Colleen, Sarah, and Bob for all the help throughout the audit process. There's certainly a lot that goes into it, and we appreciate all the help and efforts. As far as materials provided, you should have received the financial statements, and just thought I'd kind of walk through those financial statements with you today and answer any questions that you may have.
Does anybody need a hard copy? I can share my hard copy if you want to look at it. Anybody?
Is it helpful at all if I was to share a screen and display the financials as I go through them, or is there?
It looks like everybody has a copy.
Okay, super. All right, so starting out on the very first page is our audit report. We audited the year ended December 31st, 2023. And on this page is our opinion, and we issued an unmodified opinion, otherwise known as a clean opinion, which is the highest level opinion that can be received. Also in here, it describes the basis of accounting, which is cash receipts and disbursements, which is not generally accepted accounting principles, and that's also disclosed in your notes to your financials as well. For our audit process, we use a risk-based audit approach where we perform a risk assessment, and then based on the results of that risk assessment, we'll determine the nature, timing, and extent of the procedures that we perform over routine and non-routine transactions. And using this risk-based approach allows us to have a fresh look at the financials each year. As part of the assessment, we also take a look at internal controls over financial reporting for the purpose of gaining an understanding of the internal controls for the organization. And we also will walk through some of the key areas to ensure that the controls are designed and implemented. This year, we walked through the cash receipts, cash disbursements, as well as the payroll disbursements controls. And just want to point out for your information, included in the notes to the financial statements, there is a note about cash being secured with pledged collateral for any amounts over FDIC limits, and that was met this year. During the audit process, we also met with Sarah, Bob, and Colleen to review risk areas, as well as get a general understanding of operations of the organization, any changes that have occurred, any future upcoming changes as well. Next, we'll turn to page 3. And this is the statement of cash receipts and disbursements over the general fund. This is during the period of January 1st through December 31st, as well as the comparable time period for 2022. For the cash receipts this year, total cash receipts are increased over last year by about 98,000. This is a result of the combination of an increase in federal aid of about 17,000, some private aid that was new this year, about 59,000, local government aid, 19,000 additional, as well as interest income of about 53,000. These are offset by a slight decrease in state aid of 10,000, as well as joint automation of 39,000. As mentioned, there is a concentration here of the state aid, and that's also disclosed in your disclosures, as well as this is the by far the largest receipt that you have. Also, the reimbursement of joint automation fees from the member library. This is also a significant receipt where SALS pays joint automation fees and then is reimbursed by member libraries.
Dan, you disappear. Oh, there you are.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Am I still there?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, super. Let's see. So as far as total disbursements this year, total disbursements were up about 211,000 over last year. And this is increases in the transfers to the trust and agency of about 76,000, increases to general disbursements of about 99,000, and an increase in joint automation fees of 36,000. Overall, the major disbursements are disbursements to the trust and agency for payroll and related benefits, as well as joint automation fees. Cash in the general fund consists of checking, money market accounts, and CDs. And cash in the general fund at December 31st, 2023 was down approximately 183,000 from 2022. And this is due to, disbursements increased more than the increase in the cash receipts. Next, I'll move to page 4, the trust and agency fund. This here is the cash receipts and disbursements for the trust and agency fund for the period January 31st through December 31st for both years 2023 and 2022. And this is primarily the transfers of cash from the general fund to pay for payroll and related expenses. The remainder of the financials consist of the notes to the financial statements. Just to kind of walk you through some key areas here, in note 1, describes the basis of the presentation. SALS is on a cash basis of accounting, which is a basis other than generally accepted accounting principles in the United States. Also in note 1 describes the recognition of receipts. The note also describes the depreciation and that fixed assets are expensed as purchased. On to note 2, discloses the cash balances for the year. And as mentioned, all cash balances were secured with pledged collateral this year. And in note 3, talks through the reimbursements from the Joint Automation Council of SALS and Mohawk Library System. And basically, throughout this note, discloses the timing differences of the reimbursements received, and also shows some of the expenses from 23 to 22 as well. Note 4 of the financials describes the nature of the disbursements from the general and the trust and agency fund. Are there any questions on the financials that perhaps we haven't addressed so far?
No. No questions?
Any
Okay.
questions?
Thank you, Dan.
You're very welcome.
All right, well, we'll go back to the top of the agenda then. And first, I want to introduce the new board members. Thomas Shaganoff, welcome. And Elaine Cowan,
Oh.
welcome back. Any public comment?
Just one, slight modification on the agenda under new business, letter C. Lowercase c. Where it says designate Adirondack Trust as a depository for, it should say FSA withholdings instead of Aflac.
Thank you. Right. So next on the agenda, we have revisions to our user account policy, wireless network policy, security policy, revised security description, and revised JA security policy addendum. I think that's you.
I'll just briefly talk about the changes for each one of them, and please ask me any questions. So, these were all updates. The majority of the updates are just reflecting changes in technology that needed to be updated or changes in practice and things we've already been doing. There's a few exceptions to that. The user account policy, we added text to support a policy of requiring all staff to have email, and that we do not blanketly forward email blindly outside of the system. We've actually had that practice in place since February of 2023, so to update that policy. Michelle, can you talk just a little? Oh, I'm sorry, sure, I can try. I'll just go through each one and the wireless network policy, we changed some of the wording, which reflects newer hardware and newer capabilities of the newer hardware, having to do with how staff can access the wireless network. The security policy, I didn't even print the whole thing because it's very long. Almost all of those changes are, like I said, updating to current technology, changes in our networks over the years, that kind of thing. The bigger ones are that we added the security description, which is a policy that always existed, but we felt it should be an addendum to the security policy as a whole. And then there was another update to the confidential patron data policy, which clarifies that confidential data should be encrypted whenever possible, and then instances where it cannot be encrypted need to be documented and approved by the information security manager. We recognize there were a couple places where it's not possible for us to encrypt it, so we wanted to make sure that that was reflected accurately. I think that covers the important things in that policy. I'm not sure, did everybody get my little list of each page thing, or did you want me to go over each page? So, on the page 5 of the policy, it's to reflect changes of our network and our services. We used to have a different network configuration, and we're now using Microsoft 365. Page 16, we added not to save passwords on shared devices. Page 22, we updated to reflect that we now use the Outlook app on portable devices. It was referencing only using web-based. Again, not current. We had a policy name that was named incorrectly that we somehow missed the first time around on 23 and 25. And on page 25, I mentioned the security description becoming an addendum. Page 27, we added some additional text about not blind forwarding emails outside of our system. Same thing that was in the user account policy. Page 28, we added MBLS system staff and changed to some more generic term for security scanning, that we had a Cisco specific term in there that we're not using Cisco anymore. So we went with a more generic term for security scanning. Page 30 references a function that we don't have the ability to do any longer, so we took that out. Page 31, same thing about the Cisco security scanning. Page 32 and 39, due to changes in the networks, credit card payments no longer go through the ambulance SALS JA network, so we removed that piece. Page 33 was the encryption of confidential data that I mentioned. Page 34, we added additional places that confidential library patron data should never be stored. Page 36 and 44, we removed a reference to a policy that we don't have. That's another one we missed. Page 37, additional details about how, specific patron references can be emailed without encryption. So it's okay to email a patron barcode if you're not putting other patron details in that email without encrypting the email. A little more specific on that. But that's the big one, security policy. Then we have the security description, which is now an addendum. Or will be, let's see. Oh, now the reference to allowing of using Outlook in the Outlook app on portable devices. A clarification about wireless networks, that they should never be connected in any way to the public wired networks. A clarification about network drop audits. And some more requirements.
what a drop audit is?
So network drops, so we have these little ports within a building all over the place, and we have a policy that says none of those drops that are not being used should be patched into the network. So if any patron or anybody just came in and plugged a computer in, it should not work. Because only things we know are on the network should be on the network. So we have a requirement that those drops should be audited once in a while by the staff to make sure that something isn't inadvertently patched in when it shouldn't be. And then we added a requirement about erasing hard drives for display for the edited and securely, just to be a little more specific about how we do it using the Microsoft service for utility for erasing hard drives. And then the last one is the security policy addendum. And that one, has to do with the clarification of the data encryption requirements, and we felt the previous wording was vague and unclear, and we wanted to be a little more specific about how we're requiring data to be encrypted. It kind of sounded like you only had to encrypt it if it was on a private computer, as opposed to, no, we wanted to encrypt it everywhere. But that's good. I can answer questions on any of them.
This has been approved at the JA council meeting 2 months ago, long time ago, and it's been approved by the Mohawk Valley Board of Trustees. JA doesn't really exist it exists, but not legally exists, and it's up to the SALS board and the MBLS board to approve things like policy changes and the budget, and because you all are responsible.
Okay, so we need to approve this. Do I have a motion from someone for? You, second? Linda?
Sue's the motion.
Any, more discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Michelle. Michelle has another meeting to go to.
Okay, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. Really nice to see you all.
The next thing on our agenda is the committee assignment list for the year ahead. And that also needs to be approved. Is there any discussion or questions about the assignments?
I believe that it showed that there wasn't a chair of the Audit and Finance Committee, and I think we can report.
Tom's name is on the latest one.
Is it on the latest one? Okay. I have an older one.
Does that mean you are going to do it, Tom?
Sure.
Oh,
Thank you.
Yeah, Colleen and I took them in the closet.
And not in the
He finally accepted.
How it works around here.
You know, you've had that on tape.
Oh, that, I just violated the harassment. I just did that, didn't I?
What the consensual was.
Weeks ago.
Does anybody have any questions or discussion about the assignments? If not, can we have a motion to approve these committee assignments? Hey, Margaret, second,
Elaine.
or Laura? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Looks like everybody's in favor. So those are the assignments going forward. And now we have the slate of officers.
Which I don't think I even know what the slate of officers is.
That could be,
Surprise, surprise.
yeah. Is that even on here?
There's no link.
No, there's no link on here.
What things are the?
Yes, right. Okay, so for president, and we do also take nominations from the floor, right? If anybody wants to change anything or add their names and have a real competition, right? So Carol for president, Carol Kerr. Chris Connell for vice president. And Bob will remain treasurer, and I'll move back to secretary. So is any discussion? Anybody want to throw their hat in the ring?
That's your chance.
Can we have a motion then for this slate of officers to be approved?
Elaine will move.
Okay, Elaine, second. Linda? Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Are you
I'm
abstaining?
abstaining.
This is abstaining.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes. I'm thankful to the nominating committee. It started when Russ was still president, and I think it worked pretty well.
Yeah, I thought it did really well.
I offered the position to you.
Fight over it.
So one of the things we discussed was whether she could, as president, go ahead with the meeting or whether I should. Either one.
We discussed it walking into the building. Do what's ever comfortable.
I can go ahead or you,
Why don't you go ahead and
and you can get ready for next time. All right. All right, so then we've got the board meeting minutes from April 16th, 2024, and we need to approve those. Does anyone have any changes or modifications to those minutes? Is there anything missing? And can we do these two together, or do we have to do them separately?
I think she needs separate.
Separate.
resolutions.
Okay.
motions, yeah.
So can we have a motion, please, for approval of the board meeting minutes of April 16th? Margaret, and second, Chris? Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay. And then the annual meeting minutes from May 20th, 2024. A motion to accept those. Linda? Second?
Elaine.
Elaine? Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, those are also approved. Treasurer's report.
Okay, I'm going to skip going through the details of April since it was so long ago, but we'll start out with the ending balance in April, which better be the beginning balance in May, $1,737,075.27. You'll see this time of year, our receipts are dismal, and we're just waiting for the state. And we do know the numbers from the state now, it's been posted, but, so we had 41,000 come in and joint automation fees, interest of $31 and miscellaneous of $239, which actually comes from our meta bonus program. And that's because we're an influencer, or Erica's the influencer. And we get a payment for her being an influencer.
Nice.
So the total receipts were 41,000, almost 42,000. And our disbursements, which is basically payroll and a few other miscellaneous things, were about 129,000. So we ended the month of May with 1,650,000. The CDs are listed there, but the one that matured on yesterday, Monday, I have rolled over into a 90-day at 4.68. So it didn't go down 4.6, not 4.68. So it didn't go down an awful lot in the interest rate. And hopefully it stays up to the year so that we can have another $50,000 a year of interest coming in. Any questions or comments regarding any of that?
I like the charts.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the charts. Those are great.
QuickBooks, thanks to Colleen, QuickBooks does a great job with
Yeah,
converting numbers into pictures.
I love the charts.
They're really good things. So do we need to approve those?
Have to-
Just the,
You just have to put it in file.
okay, so those will go on file,
That's it.
and that's it. And then the director's report.
Boy, you run a quick meeting. You have a lot to work towards, Carol. Look how quick Janet is.
I am known for running short meetings.
Excellent.
Will do my best.
I do enjoy all of you and your dedication to SALS and to libraries, and thank you. I'm going to start with that. We're beginning our budget preparations, maybe next month. Colleen, Bob and I will start looking at stuff, and then we'll have something to share July or August with the Audit and Finance Committee. And before the Audit and Finance Committee can review the draft budget, let me just reiterate, we come up with the draft budget in Augustish, by the end of August. It comes to the board in September. After you review it in September, we send it out to the membership for comments. And then hearing comments, we make adjustments. Hearing no comments, it is as is. It is as it stays the same. And then you all vote on it in the October meeting. So we have time to really look at the budget and to think about the budget. But before we can do that part of the budget, the Personnel Committee needs to meet and decide on benefits and potential increases to salaries. So we'll be sending out invites or a poll to see which day personnel can meet, and then hopefully Audit and Finance can meet right after it. It just makes sense instead of driving back and forth, because we do need it by the September meeting. Construction aid application. We're gonna be receiving about 1.2 million to distribute among all the grant applications. And they're gonna be quite a few, so the building committee, be prepared. What happens is the portal is open and Pamela is doing a fabulous job helping people walk through it. She answers questions, I answer some questions, and questions we both can't answer, we go to Division of Library Development and Tim's wife for clarification on the best way to answer. We try to get everything answered before the applications are submitted and shared with this board for the determination. So there's 1.2 million, which is about 200,000, 250,000 more than we've had in past years. Thank you for your advocacy efforts. So they're due at the end of August, and what Pamela does is she does her magic and she distributes the packets to the building committee and they can review it. By the time and then there are some adjustments that need to be made. And the wonderful building committee meets, looks at it, makes suggestions, and then it goes on to the full board. And usually the building committee meets just before the board meeting again, less driving and and people who come and look at it get lunch. I believe in that. Also to add into the mix is that later in the agenda, Christine will speak about it. If you looked at the parking lot, it's pretty sad. And I was told one day when I was out, the big, what I call the swimming pool was filled and ducks were swimming in it. No lie, ducks were swimming in our parking lot. So Christine, Paul Mays, Pamela and I met with a, Del Signor paving to see what's what, and, they were gonna do some boring that you passed electronically to see how bad it is under the surface. But looking at the swimming pool, I don't think it's gonna look good. Having said that, Christine will be talking about this in more detail, but best thing would be is if you all approve us moving forward with this construction grant, because we don't meet again until after the construction grants are due. And we'll keep you all informed along the way. I don't believe we were supposed to get an estimate today, but we haven't. But I have no doubt we're gonna get a good estimate.
So you're replacing the whole thing.
We're gonna look at that, but yeah, and SALS can get a 50% match. The only wrinkle might be is if the grant is more than our purchasing order, and we might have to go out for proposals. But we have to see what the final number is, and we really don't know what that number is, do we? So we'll keep you informed every step of the way.
Yeah, I understood that, it wasn't until they did the boring that they actually then could
Give us an
develop,
estimate.
develop an estimate.
Correct. So later on, we're gonna ask you to have trust in us. And again, it's not saying we submit it, but it's giving us permission to go forward and submit it in the SAL's name. We're still working with Schenectady and Mohawk Valley to come up with solutions and answers. And we really, really, really thank all the people that volunteered to serve on the different ad hoc committees. Ad hoc committees were formed by the JA chair, Alex Catilius, to look at various issues that need to be resolved as we communicate going forward. And just sitting in this room, I want to thank Christine and Tom and Bob and Colleen. They're going to be part of the ad hoc financial group, working group, committee, ad hoc committee. And I believe you're meeting next week. If you want to see what's happening with all of these different groups, information is posted as we get the minutes on the SAL's website, so you can keep abreast of how things are progressing. And I think most of the committees have met, except for finance, and that's next week. So we're moving along, and these groups are supposed to come back to the JA Council and give recommendation. They do the gathering, and so that we have something to look at the JA meeting. The JA meeting will be here if you want to come and join us. It's going to be streamed, I believe, so you can watch that way also. I really, really want to thank Alex Catilius. When she agreed to chair the Joint Automation Council, she didn't realize her duties would have been expanded the way they have, and she's been absolutely wonderful. Please stick around a little bit after the meeting. Pamela and Jack have redesigned our statistical summary. And I think she would really love to have your pictures. And if you don't, we can hide you behind a mask or something. But, right, Pamela, isn't that your thought?
Yes, we want pictures of all of the trustees and the staff in the statistical summary, which is also, can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
Which is also the, like the annual report. We're trying to make it a little more fun than just a statistical summary.
I love this statistical summary. Well, the same information is gonna be there, it's just to be presented a little bit more user-friendly, especially when you have eyesight like mine and it's hard to read those numbers. Also,
The whole
because
point was actually to make it, sorry, Sarah, is to make it ADA compliant on our website.
I wanted it to be that we could read it, but ADA accessibility is access too. Thank you, Pamela. So we're gonna talk about that. And I sent out an email this morning. We can issue a code so that people can come in the side door. So if you trust us, if you will send a piece of paper around, or no, that's invasion of privacy. If you don't mind giving us your name and the 4 numbers you love. But please, not the last 4 digits of your social security number, or your telephone, or your birth date. We can give it to our IT guy,
Those are the only-
and then we'll give you what the code is, so you can come in.
I don't, I've got a fob, so I don't have to remember that code.
Well, we don't have enough fobs to give to
No.
everybody.
I don't
He's
have to
just
remember.
bragging.
Yeah. Or we could do it random and then you'd have to memorize the number, that too. But just give us your name and the number, or if you want us to generate it. We
I
can do
told
that.
Pamela that I really liked having a personal greeter when I came to the door.
Well, you don't need one then. It's all up to you, but it's something that we could take into consideration. And then we're gonna talk a little bit more about looking at the way we're set up. Currently, it's 3 trustees from each county, and that seemed to be a fair way. But when we added our 4th county, it made it all even. So the president can't vote unless it's to break a tie. To make it, anyway, we're gonna make it what we're recommending, and I know Jordan worked really, really hard, and Barbara Taylor worked very, very hard to find 3 people who had the time to come down here. But also, Hamilton County has less people, and I know in your communities, you're probably doing 17 other things as well. But in Hamilton County, they have less people, so doing 17 different things, they're doing 50 different things. So we're gonna investigate with your permission, and it's gonna be a motion a little later, to look at a charter revision. So ideally, we would want 3 from each county, but if not, we can play a little bit with the number of people from Hamilton County to keep it fair. Bob, were you part of the board back when it was 3-3 and no?
There were 4 counties when we first came in.
Okay, so that's just something. And then if you change the charter to be a range of people, the bylaws have to be changed to show what quorum would be. So if 1 year, instead of 12 people, we have 11, we'd have to have 7 as the quorum. And I'm gonna turn this over to Pamela, because we've been having fun with the venue for the annual dinner. And Pamela did send out a survey of the attendees. Let me just say that while the food might not have been spectacular at Fort William Henry, they gave us a generous refund for the inedible meal, and they apologized. You want to take it over?
Sure. So the results of the survey that we sent out to the attendees of the meeting, some ideas for other meetings were to bring back trivia. A few people really enjoyed that, so I'm going to look at that. Some people suggested that they had more time to meet with the other libraries prior to the meeting. And another suggestion, which has come up a couple times, is a later start time. So we start at 5, we end at 8. I don't think it'd be much different to start at 5:30 and end at 8:30. So the people that work until 5 have time to get to the meeting. So last year, we also did a survey after the meeting at Excelsior Spring, and the biggest feedback was about parking. So although the venue is nice, I thought that I would explore some other options, and I went out to Mazzone Catering. They do catering at many different venues in the Capital District Saratoga region. And the one that reached out to me was Saratoga National. And right away, I was like, we can't afford Saratoga National. That's got to be ridiculously expensive. but she said, please just let me send you a quote. You might be surprised. So she sent me a quote and Excelsior sent me a quote for the 2025 annual meeting. And the quote for Saratoga National came at 13,750 and Excelsior is 12,052. So it's a very small amount, and the two biggest advantages to going to Saratoga National is definitely the parking, which is an obvious issue at Excelsior, but the other thing is they also offer 3 dinner options instead of 2. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you have to pick a vegetarian or vegan option, that means I can only pick 1 meat option. So it would allow us 2 meat options plus a vegan, gluten-free, vegetarian option. The menu looks good. So looking for approval to send a deposit for Saratoga National if that's what the board would like to do, or send a deposit to Excelsior. They both have our date available for 2025.
And the reason we're doing Saratoga is that we were doing Saratoga, Warren, but Bob was really kind. And next year we could look at Washington County.
Linda's house.
Sounds good.
It's only 150 of your closest friends.
Right.
So that'll be under new business to approve that, right?
Yes, yep.
And that concludes my, my oral report. You got my written report, and I'm willing to answer any and all questions.
Questions? Thank you, Sarah. Yes.
Pamela sent a message to me through Colleen that I didn't mention the warrants. And we do need to, the warrants were a link. And so you had a chance to look at the warrants. We do need to authorize them to be filed also.
Okay. Is that,
Otherwise, Pamela's not gonna be happy with it.
has everybody had a chance to look at them, and is there any discussion or any questions about the warrants? Anything in particular we should be aware of?
The summary of it was in the numbers that I gave.
Okay, so that will go to file. And is that something that I have to ask for approval to go to file? No,
I think it just has to be in the minutes that
okay. Thanks. Sorry about that.
no, actually, I
Luckily, the new president. won't make those mistakes.
I'm paying very careful attention.
All right, committee reports. Now, I noticed the ones that are listed on the agenda are our new committee chairs. And so will they be ready for reports? We'll find out. Audit and finance, Tom.
Nothing to report, though. We are in the process that Sarah just described.
Okay, thank you. Building, Chris, we know you. have-
Yeah, well, so a little bit of history about the parking lot stuff. A year ago, those of us on the construction committee got estimates for the parking lot that ranged from a like $7,000 recode to a $45,000 redo the parking lot. And this, they all said different things, and none of us are parking lot experts. We didn't know what, we never specified really anything explicit, like you need this grade of asphalt or whatever. So, by bringing in, Paul Mays, somebody will write his specs. And then, and the other thing having to do, initially we were looking at doing it with SALS money. And now if it becomes, if the boring says, well, really, this needs to be. BLD will not approve construction grant for things like patching or repairing, but they will approve a whole new parking lot. And so our expectation is that's going to be the recommendation, and then we will be eligible to partly fund it. The other thing that kind of shocked me was that the high number on those original bunch of estimates was, I don't know, $45,000 or $50,000. And we're now talking about $100,000 parking lot. So,
we've done it at our house. The prices are all over the map. You know, you have no idea what they're gonna say. They all say something different and their prices are different as well.
And so I'm not clear really, at what level do we have to go out to bid?
It depends on what the estimate is. We have a procurement policy. Do you remember the procurement policy? Is it 99,000 that we have to go out to bid?
I
don't
believe
remember.
it's 99,999.
Okay,
And the other reason, if I can, why it's also coming in higher is with the New York State construction grant, we're also looking at replacing the curbs. Possibly the man doors that are rusting and a cinder block wall that is deteriorating.
that's right.
So those things combined with a complete rip and replace are why it suddenly got really high. But we haven't seen an official estimate at all yet.
Let me check my email.
Is there a matching grant? Is it a matching grant if we have to come up
Yeah,
with something?
50%.
50%.
So Christine, is this rate that would be applying for, is it the same one that our individual libraries? So
Yes.
SALS will take some of that money and not distribute it to the libraries?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to understand.
And so the construction committee can always decide to short cells, depending upon what the other applications look like.
Yeah, be careful.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Anything else on the parking lot?
So with the boring thing done?
I'm gonna go out and see if there's a hole where the little
Sarah?
markings were.
I think the boring is happening on Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
that's
thought it was happening on. It's either happening on Wednesday, they're gonna talk to us on Thursday, or it's happening on Thursday.
Sue,
Right, and then the.
So is it multiple boring? It's like, or?
yeah, in different parts of the parking lot, just to see how
Yeah, what the damage
our
is.
foundation held it up.
what kind of bones will be found at the bottom of the lake in which the ducks were swimming?
Probably duck bone.
But if that happens again, take a picture for a good and post that you have to send to the grants.
Smart.
I like that.
Soon.
I'm gonna find a duck decoy and stick it out there.
You know, I've got all those rubber ducks in my room.
There we go.
We're gonna do this, we're gonna do this.
You really think somebody at the state has a sense of humor?
Yes,
Oh, come on.
yes. You have to have a sense of humor. That word.
They request a picture, so if we get it with the real ducks, I mean, how could they argue?
Well, we can Photoshop, right?
Right, nobody
Or
knows
AI.
AI.
Jack?
Yeah.
You're on it?
Yes. Always love to wait till next year because those ducks come back every spring.
I know.
But we don't need real ducks if we have Jack Photoshop.
Erica's got some skills too. You should see that.
Anyway, I
Okay,
think that's it.
I think that's it.
okay, thanks, Chris. Okay, bylaws committee, Laura. You have any report?
We'll work together if we go through the charter change and we'll review the bylaws together.
Okay. Central Library Aid and Services, Margaret.
No report.
County Aid Coordinators.
None from Warren.
Chris, Laura. That. All right, Library Services, Lane,
Not at the moment.
Personnel, Linda, not that I'm aware of. And Trustee Nominating.
Oh, that's me. No.
Okay. Next is unfinished business, and this is where we're going to approve SALS to go ahead with, their planning for the construction to replace the existing parking lot. So it's not a final approval of any parking lot choice, it's the process.
That we go, yeah, that we go ahead and apply.
Continue with with the application. So is there any further questions or discussions about the parking lot construction? If not, can we have a motion to approve? Thank you, Sue.
So, yeah,
Second from Linda. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we approve that. Now, new business. The amendment to SALS charter to revise board membership and revision to bylaws. So that's sort of not quite ready yet, right?
well, if we're starting to work on the charter, we'd like permission to start working on the charter.
So permission to go ahead with that process. Any other questions, Margaret?
No, I'll make the motion.
Okay, second? Anybody second? Chris? Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. Great. Approve Saratoga County site for the annual dinner meeting, so we can place a deposit for next year. So does,
I move that we do that.
okay, so
At Saratoga National?
that's Saratoga National.
Yeah.
Okay, second? Sue? Any other discussion or questions? All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, so we can go ahead with that. Approved placement of bank accounts. Okay, do you want to talk to that?
Well,
This is just, we designate these particular banks and also the officers that who can, or accept, who have the permission to sign on the account or withdraw funds. So, naming Saratoga National, and it should say Adirondack Trust, I think. Oh, no, that's below. Saratoga National. I don't know what that. It's the one is below. I think the first one should just say name Saratoga National as depository funds to be withdrawn with the signature of one of the following: president, vice president, treasurer, or secretary. And then the next one, I guess you'll vote on them separately, is to name Adirondack Trust Company as a depository of funds to be withdrawn with those same signatures, right? And that any one of them is authorized to borrow funds. And that mainly ties to having a credit card. They consider that borrowing. So if anybody at the SALS staff needs to get a new credit card, this gives the authorization for one of these people to authorize a staff member to have a credit card. And then we designate Adirondack Trust as a depository for our FSA withholdings, which are to be withdrawn by the officers stated above or an authorized FSA representative. And then authorized borrowing via credit cards by the president, vice president, treasurer, or secretary. And once this is all approved, I have the forms here. All officers named there have to visit Adirondack Trust Company to get their signature on file, even if you're already on file. That's Adirondack Trust.
we go to the South Broadway branch, because that's where they're going to know. Hypothetically, they're going to know what's going on.
Right, because are you gonna go today?
I'm depending upon when we get them.
Okay, because they'll need this. Whoever's going first needs to have this corporate resolution. Saratoga National,
That's also the South Broadway on the other side of the.
and for that bank, we completed paperwork. Only a new officer has to go and sign. So it's only Christine. You'll have to go there with your ID, get your signature on file, and Bob authorizes that as the treasurer. So as soon as you can do that and get that on file, if you can do it today, that'd be great.
Okay, so we need to do each of these things separately. First, name Saratoga National Bank and Trust Company as depository. Can we have a motion to approve that? Sue, and second, Elaine. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, name Adirondack Trust Company as depository of funds. Can we have a motion for that, please?
Before you get, can I pose a question?
Yes,
Are B and D overlapping in that, the sense of the borrowing, or are they, because there's no institution named on D for the credit cards?
Well, they're through Adirondack Trust.
should that be like a sub?
Yeah, I would think that we would want authority to borrow from each of the banks, so. Yes, that should say for Saratoga National and Adirondack Trust. Because
D.
in past history, at one point, we did need to go out
For B,
for,
right.
for D,
For D.
for A and D. Including D and D. The two banks.
Thanks, Tom,
Okay,
that's
okay.
good.
Thanks, Tom.
I have a question. So how many credit cards are there currently, in Sal's staff hands?
Or
Four.
the librarian, Sarah, the consultants, and me.
Yep, four.
Jack, Jill, Erica, Sarah, me, 5.
Fine.
Jack, Jill, Sarah, Erica, me, 5. And we have a credit card policy on file
Any other questions?
on the website.
So with that change, adding the authorization of credit cards to both Saratoga National and Adirondack Trust Company, do we have to do those over?
We were on B. We
Yeah,
didn't get to
so-
D yet.
Right. Well, we'll be adding D to B. So, okay, so we had a motion for the Adirondack Trust Company. We
You
take
had
that
one for
again.
Saratoga National.
Yeah, let's have a motion for the Adirondack Trust Company as depository of funds. And also as a place where we can authorize borrowing via credit cards.
I hate to be a pain, but can we keep it like it is? Cause now you're adding that to B, but we didn't add it to A. If we just accept B as it is, and then when we do get to D, add the names of the two institutions.
Which we can do it that way too.
Okay, let's do it
Cause
that
then
way.
it's just
I like
clear to me.
Thank you. Amy.
Sure.
All right, so B, let's go back to B. Name Adirondack Trust Company as depository of funds. Can we have a motion for that, Sue? Second, Margaret. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and then we'll designate Adirondack Trust as depository for
FSA, flexible
FSA,
spending. account.
right, withholdings. Can we have a motion for that, please? Thank you, Laura. Elaine, second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, and under D, now that's going to be authorized borrowing via credit cards from Saratoga National Bank and Trust Company and Adirondack Trust Company by the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary. We have a motion for that, please? Margaret, second. Elaine, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that passes. Okay, we got through that. Okay, set dates for personnel and audit and finance committee meetings. We're not really ready for that yet.
I think rather than take everybody's time, why don't we work with the chairs of each committee?
Okay.
And then let everybody else know.
Okay, thank you.
And as president, of course, you're welcome.
Make sure I get all the memos, please.
Budget, so you can all.
All right, approve the following potential travel for Sal's staff.
For any of the SAL staff to travel, board needs to approve it. And this doesn't mean that the staff is going to go, but sometimes like the summer where we're not gonna have a meeting until September. And then sometimes there are early bird advantages. So we're asking in principle to allow us to register for these conferences, but it doesn't mean we're gonna go to the conference. Does that make any sense?
Yep.
And just to also let you know that, as an executive board member of the American Library Association, ALA absorbs my travel costs.
Nice.
Except I have to go to these meetings.
Sarah, what is LLX?
That is the name of the library. Where are you? LLX is. What is LLX, Erica?
Can't hear you.
Never mind, Eric.
Learn X.
Library learning.
Learn X.
Experience?
Library learning
Experience.
experience.
Okay.
Okay, and what's,
Question.
ARSL?
So
ARSL is the Association of Rural Library Conference, where it's gonna be in Springfield, Massachusetts.
rural and small libraries.
And as trustees, you may want to go. It's in Springfield and it's really an outstanding conference.
Yeah.
As is, if people want to go to NILA, trustees, talk to Colleen. Because
I can't
SALS will-
register you. I can't register you anymore. It doesn't work that way. So
Well,
you
about
register
reimbursement.
yourself. But, yeah, but let me know if you're gonna go and if you need any help, because it's a brand new interface, the NILA website. So there's a place to reset, remind me of my password, but if you need help, call me or call Nyla, but I can.
And it's in Syracuse.
Yeah.
All right, switching to my agenda on paper because the other one disappeared.
So we
All
need
right, so we're
approval.
gonna approve these for Sarah and Erica to attend NILA, which is November 6th through 9th in Syracuse. Can we have a motion to approve their attendance at that conference? Elaine, second, Margaret, all in favor?
You can't do all these at once.
Yeah, could we do it all at once?
Could do it once.
Oh, okay. So is there any discussion that you'd like to leave any of these out or? And so let's look at all of these for Sarah and Erica to attend these conferences. A through I. We have a motion
Yeah,
for
a
all.
question. So.
Yeah.
Would you need subsequent? How does it work? So like some of these are certainly before the next meeting. But others, will you be bringing them back to the board for specific approval or is this approval?
This is approval that if we want to attend these,
Mhm.
because we don't even know what the cost, I mean, I know what the ALA cost will be for me,
Sure.
but. All of those are at no cost to SALS, but it's giving me the time to attend.
I see.
Also, I see D and I are the same.
It is. I only want to go once. Or I only need to
Take
go.
away
once.
That's
Take
during
away
our
I.
meeting, isn't it? That's during the September meeting.
Yes,
It is.
17, yeah. Okay, but intellectual freedom, that's important.
Yeah. All right, so all of those minus the extra intellectual freedom summit and we have just one motion to approve. Margaret, Linda seconds, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We have our approval. And then designating the Post-Star as official newspaper.
That's important. That's where we post our meetings.
Any discussion about that? Questions? Chris?
Kind of irrelevant discussion, so I subscribed to the Post-Star in order to watch things about Rockwell Falls last year. And and then when the subscription expired, they started calling me up asking me to renew. And I now have a subscription that costs me like $1 a month or something. So I extended my subscription.
The Post-Star has a really strange method, because they periodically send you a thing where they up your subscription, like. They tripled mine 2 weeks ago, but if you go online and you tell them you're gonna cancel, they immediately lower it back down to $5 and something a quarter.
Yeah.
Our credit card
Yeah.
company to get.
But if you don't say anything, they charge you the higher amount, obviously.
Yeah.
Wonder if that would work for the Times.
I don't know, I think all new printed newspapers are having issues, so they're willing to take
It's not a
anything.
great day to be in print, yeah.
I mean, mine is strictly a e-subscription, so I'm pretty cheap.
So they wanna charge you more, but they don't wanna lose you. If that means charging you more, you're not gonna
Yeah.
get it. So I guess that's why.
What the Post-Star drives me nuts is they can't even do their customer service in this country. It's you know, another case of you're dealing with somebody in India or Pakistan or somewhere.
Well, regardless of that.
I make a motion
It
that
is
we
the
designate the
paper.
Post Star as our official newspaper.
Thank you, Chris.
Because you have a
Second
subscription.
motion in a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, we're designating the Post Star. Directors Council report, no report. Announcements. Okay, the next board meeting is September 17th. I think that we're gonna stay, right, and
Get your pictures taken and give Colleen a piece of paper with your name and your secret code, or if you want people to assign it.
I will